This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! What a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Into the net with a shot, he scores! Owen Mike goes 4-2, Western Michigan.
Opinion.
Back into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota.
Special guests and your listener questions.
The icing is waved and it's over! Western Michigan has won it. The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025.
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
Welcome to the show, as Emerson, Lake and Palmer, as it were, once said. Here we are, and college hockey kept going on despite the fact that I was out during the weekend, not really at my computer, and busy on my little trip to Mexico, which we've begun to go to every year now, 4 years in a row, me and Ted Cruz.
There you go, yeah.
I did not go with Ted Cruz, but I did miss all the weather. Of course, Denver dodged a bullet entirely anyway. You know, it's funny because I tell everybody how great the weather is in Denver, and it's not what the cliche is or what people's perception is. And then, lo and behold, on national television on Sunday, there was a snowstorm deluging the football game. Like, well, that's
Which
Denver for you.
Nowhere.
Yeah. I was like, oh, people are like, oh, that's Denver for you. I'm like, well, not really, but okay. If you and as a matter of fact, starting the next day onward now for the whole next week, it's in the 50s. So I'm trying to plan my might get to 60 on Sunday. So I'm trying to plan a golf outing.
Oh, there you go.
Me and the Broncos can play golf now too.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it'll be nice. It's not nice here. We got dumped on Sunday into Monday, and it's been in the teens ever since.
But everywhere else in the country, right? I mean, we were we were down in near Cancun, like I said, and there was Dave Matthews had 3 concerts, I think, 3 nights, and at some resort there. I didn't go to that. That's not why I was there, but. Lots of people went down there, bought packages for it and stuff. But seeing the scramble at the airport of people trying to change flights and get home after that.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because that storm, it affected half the country.
Yeah,
it was basically in the same storm.
Yeah, and I got a son who was flying back to Nashville today, and it's apparently frozen in ice, the entire city. So, hopefully that goes off okay. But so anyway, yeah, I'm great now. Fully refreshed, ready for the stretch run of college hockey, and thankfully the weather's great here, so too bad for everybody else. And but I did miss everything. I kept up as best I could with college hockey this weekend, but I'm all in now the rest of the way. Here we go. So what did you see while I was away in this weekend?
Yeah, I was busy. I had 2 games. I was on the broadcast for Thursday and Friday, Merrimack Northeastern, and then I watched a bunch of games on Saturday night because there had nothing else going on. So it was great. I kind of had the command center set up between ESPN Plus and Flow and NCHC and a couple of Big Ten games that were on. It was a Saturday night off in January or February is pretty rare. So to sit and be able to watch 12 games at once was pretty great. Not going to lie.
It's pretty much my every Saturday since I'm not doing play-by-play for them myself. When I go to a Denver game, which 3-4 times a year, I'll head over there. But yeah, I mean, even there, I'm watching from the press box. So I did notice some interesting things, and obviously the Connecticut Ice Tournament, was I guess the second to last in-season tournament. We'll see the Beanpot being the ultimate one, which will start next week. But the Connecticut Ice Tournament at the Yale Whale in New Haven, and UConn comes away with the win. No surprise that UConn and Quinnipiac, I guess, were in the final. And then UConn gets 3 third-period goals to win that game. And, I don't know how much you saw of that, but UConn up to 15 now. And, now all of a sudden there's 3 Hockey East teams in the top 15.
Yeah, the big help has been their non-conference play. I mean, and UConn winning that Connecticut Ice tournament was a big part of it, right? Because especially they got 2 wins over 2 ECAC schools. The ECAC actually had a positive winning percentage. They were winning the battle against Hockey East for much of the season until Christmas. Hockey East is 13-4 non-conference since Christmas, and 9-1 against the ECAC. And that's been, I think, huge because I looked at this last year. Hockey East went 32-8-3 against the ECAC last year. And again, this year, the ECAC was beating Hockey East in head-to-head non-conference for much of the year. Hockey East is ahead now, but it's only by like 4 or 5 games. So that was huge. It was huge for UConn to get themselves back into position. Anybody in that Hockey East office will tell you it was huge for them too, because they went from looking at potentially only one team, as we're discussing, to now. I mean, it's going to take some work, but the potential is there for them to get 3. There's even like a small outside chance you could see 4 if those 3 are all comfortably within the cut line, by Selection Sunday, and maybe a team outside of that top 3 wins their automatic bid. We'll see. A long way to go, and not a likely scenario, but it's gone from looking like they might only get 1 to probably at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's all still on the edge there. I mean, these teams are going to be playing each other, so that's going to be an issue, as it were. So Hockey East, interestingly, like you said, the third best overall interconference record now, which is NCHC and Big Ten. But it's funny because ECAC is 4th at 460, but 1-7-1 against the CCHA, which is 5th at 410. So even though CCHA overall is well below ECAC, 1-7-1 in that, which is weird. Maybe that just has to do with some of the matchups that happen. I don't know. Some of the lower ECAC teams playing better CCHA teams. I don't feel like looking up what the matchups were at this point. But, that's going to all come into play. So, as you look at the MPI right now, Hockey East 15, 14, and 7. And then, two teams in particular here that we should point out, though, as we talk about this comparison, because, we've been saying, basically since November that, don't poo-poo what the MPI shows, because most of these teams will make the NCAAs. And I made the proclamation that Dartmouth was all but a given at one point. No, another loss for them. They lost to Colgate, and they tied Cornell, and now down to 12, while Providence has continued its hot play after being Team of the Week and is now up to 7. I remember lobbying for maybe Providence wasn't a top 10 team at the beginning of the year, but I guess they've got it figured out. And I think a lot of that just has to do with younger forwards kind of putting it together, learning how to play in college hockey, and it's paying off.
Yeah, they've been really good since they got back from that Colorado College weekend. I mean, they split out there, and then since they've come home, they've only had 1 loss. It wasn't a great loss. It was at home to Alaska. But if you look at really since the middle of January, swept Maine, swept BC, swept BU. That's three pretty impressive weekends all in a row. And ironically, it has come after they lost their number 1 goaltender. Philip Svedback had been their number 1 goalie for most of the last 3 years. But Jack Parsons has come in and played great. 922 save percentage, 211 goals against in 9 games. He's 7-1 in 8 starts. So he's been great. Michael Simpson's the guy that they brought in from the East Coast League, because it sounds like Svedback's going to be out long term, but he hasn't even seen the ice because Parsons has been so good. And then I agree with you overall with the younger group of forwards, right? I mean, look at their top scorers, all their top scoring forwards, freshmen and sophomores, all of them. And for some of those guys, it did take a while. Like, remember in October, people were kind of, busted on Roger McQueen a little bit. He didn't score his first goal until the middle of November, and people were like, man, he doesn't look like a number 1 pick. He doesn't look like a first round pick. He's been great. He had 2 goals, 1 assist against Merrimack on November 14th, and he's got 8 goals basically since the middle of November in the last 2 months. So it did just kind of take a while. With McQueen, there were some nights where You knew it was coming. He had 12 shots on goal against UConn on November 8th, just didn't find the net. So it wasn't like he wasn't producing. But yeah, it's a lot of those freshmen and sophomore forwards that are all of a sudden finding the back of the net with a little more regularity, and they're getting really good goaltending.
Interestingly enough, he had one shot on goal this weekend against BU in the 2 games, but he was close to 70% on faceoffs. So, which is, often a thing that freshmen need to learn. And that he has come a long way on already this year. So, overall, I'd say it's net positive. And when you thought Parsons was coming back down to earth maybe a little bit, because he did allow 3 goals on just 18 shots, even though they won 4-3. Cole Eiserman had 2 goals in that game. Tynan Lawrence finally getting his first goal, his first point in his 6th game. After coming mid-season from the USHL, a projected high first-round pick, getting his first goal. So. But they win 4-3. But then, maybe he's come back down to earth a little bit. He shuts out BU on the second night with 33 saves. So, that's obviously huge for them. And then and Tanner Adams had a couple goals. John Mustard is, sorry, folks, cutting the mustard here finally with 10 goals now this season. 3rd-round pick. Was expected to do a lot and had a solid freshman year, but is also, improved by leaps and bounds this year as well. So, but what comes up next for them? They're at Maine. Was a single game for Providence this weekend, and then New Hampshire, Vermont, Northeastern, Vermont. Actually, their schedule is quite favorable. I mean, again, I don't, any of these teams are capable of winning at any given time, but 3 games against Vermont, 3 against New Hampshire, and 2 against Northeastern for Providence here coming up. So.
We should note to be a little cautious, I think, if you're a Hockey East fan, only because BC and UConn are literally clinging to a spot. I mean,
right.
They're the last 2 right now. So, and in a year where, as we've noticed, with the exception of a couple of teams, everyone's kind of beating everyone. I would not be shocked at all to see 2 or 3 bids come from automatic qualifiers that are outside the top 16. And Hockey East could be one of them.
Yeah. Well, and they've got a home-and-home with BC coming up in a couple weeks, and still have to go to Maine twice, talking about UConn here, and then a home-and-home with suddenly hot UMass, which has won 5 in a row. They're up to 21 in the NBA. It's still going to take a heck of a lot of work for them to get up into the top 15, but they have won 5 in a row, outscoring opponents 14-3 in that span, and all of a sudden, Michael Robel is lights out again. He's got his save percentage up to .926. He's been tremendous, and I saw a quote from Greg Carvel last week that drew some eyeballs. When what did he say? Paraphrasing there, that for the first time ever, he's acting like a professional. It was something along those lines, right?
Yeah, I saw. I forget exactly what it was. It was a week ago, but yeah, I did see some. I saw something similar. Yeah.
Hey, it's an honest. I love Greg Carvel. Yep. He's always usually fair but honest, and I think basically what he was saying is that he's just practice habits, that kind of thing. It's the consistency, every day, doing what you need to do, because he had, he had slipped, at the beginning of this year, for sure, and now he's been lights out basically since the beginning of the year. So I mean, that means UMass could certainly be in play for something, if that continues. So. Yeah,
and he was hurt at the beginning of the year, then missed some time. But even when he came back from that injury, there were some ups and downs there until this stretch started against BU on the 9th. I mean, he's played 6 games and has only allowed 4 goals.
Right.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Exactly. All right. Well, what else? Was some of the big stuff that went on?
Western.
Yeah, I mean, they continue. I mean, they swept Duluth on the road. One of them was in overtime, and both games were up 4-3. So, what can you say about them anymore? I mean,
I think it's 9 in a row for them now.
Yeah,
with a bunch of those games on the road too. That's the thing.
You remember? I mean, they go to Denver, they sweep them on the road. They're team of the week. Then they have the week off. And then they go to Duluth and win twice, 4-3. So, and Duluth's obviously been a solid team this year. So, yeah, they just keep rolling around. I mean, look at the guys who score the goals: Zach Wisdom, Grant Slukinski, William Whitelaw, Owen Michaels. I mean, just they just have waves of forwards that are all solid, and when they're getting the goaltending, I mean, we've talked about how they've been injured in the back line, but if they get the defense and the goaltending, they're good to go. And Hampton Slukinski had 30 saves on Saturday. They went in overtime on a goal by Liam Valente, and that's the second goal of the game. And there you go. So, what are they up to now? They're
up to 5. Yeah. Penn State sweeping Wisconsin kept them ahead of Western, or else Western would have been in the top 4.
Right. And we'll get to that. That's for sure. But
9 in a row and 13 out of their last 14.
And also a favorable schedule here for a bit. Arizona State, they're banged up. I think they're playing with below their full complement right now.
I actually saw, Greg Powers today. I saw a clip was talking about potential defensemen that may move up to play forward if they are. Yeah,
because now Cullen Potter is out for at least the regular season.
Yep,
if not
Beck's
more.
Already out.
Yeah, they're hurting. And they got locked into the 26. They didn't have any wiggle room there on the roster, apparently. They're the so-called poster child for more players being allowed, but not going to happen this year. But as far as the NCHC will stay there, I mean, Denver continued to struggle, but then they finally bounced back Saturday with a 6-0 win. So I was getting, I don't know, worried is the right word. I mean, they did win at North Dakota the previous week. So that they're hanging in there at 13 the MPI, but they do have to be careful. They host Minnesota Duluth coming up, but that was obviously a huge win for them to get that against St. Cloud. They had Quentin Miller, by the way, in that game. I believe left injured.
Yeah, he did.
Again, I was not here around, but I think I heard a rumor to that effect. So you tell me.
Yeah, it was early in the game. I actually didn't see what happened, but it was early in the game. On Saturday, I think I'm looking at it here. Yeah, less than 5 minutes into the game, and then Johnny Hicks came in and stopped all 22 shots he faced. So Denver ended up getting the win there 6-0. But yeah, Miller, I didn't see what happened. By the time I turned that game on, he was already gone, and it was odd to me that he was. And I look up the live box and I see that he was in there and had left. And then, of course, the broadcast was talking about how he had left the game earlier with an injury. But I didn't see what happened there, and I'm not sure what his status is. But hey, I mean, you know what? Good for Johnny Hicks to go in there and shut the door.
No, I mean that he has not. He's a freshman, and Quentin Miller is also a freshman. So, Miller has basically been the guy, and Hicks is a smaller goaltender at 5'10". So, for whatever that's worth, basically he's only gotten relief appearances so far this year, and done okay, in those, although you never know, how to judge them necessarily. But this time, I mean, you can't even really call it a relief appearance, even though it technically was, because he certainly had to be good. I mean, it wasn't 6-0 when he came in. Right?
Yeah, it was. They basically played the whole game.
Yeah,
lower body is what the update was on Miller, but no word on.
I mean,
there's nothing yet on how long that's going to be.
That is half your body, so
it's true.
Encompasses a lot of things.
Pretty important half as well for a goalie.
I mean, I think they're all important halves. But yes, so there you go. But yeah, so I don't know. You always want to say that you don't really worry about Denver until it's time to worry about Denver. And I don't know if worry is the right word, but they have their work cut out for them here. So highly competitive NCHCS, we know. It's going to be a lot of tough games. North Dakota did sweep Arizona State on the road, put up 12 goals as a matter of fact, and now they are at Duluth this coming weekend. So they are 3 in the MPI, and just as we whip around here to our pals in the Big Ten, before we forget them, of course, the ever-important Big Ten. Penn State did go. I mean, Penn State very easily could have been our team of the week. Maybe should have been. I don't know. I mean, we'll get the nasty cards and letters soon enough. But they go to Wisconsin and win a pair of games. So, I mean, that is impressive any way you cut it. Only one team can be team of the week, and it wasn't them. But nevertheless, again, I didn't see the games, so it's hard for me to say. And as you know, I mean, we've talked a lot about Gavin McKenna. and how he has needed to improve in certain areas, and how his goal scoring early in the year was basically mostly on the power play, almost all of his points. But down 2-0, Penn State scores 7 straight, and McKenna gets his first hat trick. And the first one was a 5-on-3, but the latter 2 were even strength. So, and then he had an empty netter on Saturday. So 4 goals on the weekend, up to 10 now. And basically, I think he's coming along. But I want to see the games myself with my own 2 eyes this coming weekend, as opposed to just reading the box score, as I'm basically doing here, before I am ready to say he's all better. And but the people who have been defending his number 1 future draft pick status do look very good at this point.
Yes, although did you see today? I don't mean to fan the flames here. Yeah, yeah. Corey Pronman has Keaton Verhoff number 1 in his latest
I did see
draft.
that. I'm not really sure why. It would be nice to have him on. Actually, we've had him on before. Yeah, I mean, he's sticking to his guns because he dropped McKenna from 1 to 4 a few weeks
McKenna
ago.
4, yeah.
He still has
Stenberg and Reed ahead of him.
Yeah, he first did that a few weeks ago, and then it's like it almost feels like he's just kind of sticking to that because that's what he did a few weeks ago. So I don't know, but I feel like McKenna probably has looked better. But again, I do want to see it myself to fully judge. And again, I don't really see those other guys. Well, Verhoff we do, and I'm not sure. Other than the positions, because McKenna's a wing, and Verhoff's a defenseman. So I mean, if it depends on the organization, if they
that is true.
Prioritize or how they feel about that. But
I mean, I actually have it open right here. Here's how he's got skill grades. He's got McKenna high-end puck skills, high-end hockey sense, average skating, average compete, and kind of like he says, off-the-chart puck skills, as we've talked about, player who possesses just off-the-chart puck skills, elite playmaking ability. Here's where I think he knocks him, knocks him down. He's not overly physical and can be pushed to the outside too much, gives inconsistent efforts at times at even strength. He projects as a top-line winger who can run a power play 1, but he's going to frustrate his coaches at times too. Player comp Artemi Panarin.
Well, I mean, if he becomes Artemi Panarin, that's pretty good, but it's also not necessarily number 1 overall. So, but
yeah, he's got the only forward he has ahead of him is Ivar Stenberg, who's a Swedish forward. Player comp there is Clayton Keller. So,
wow, I saw Stenberg at the World Junior. I didn't think he reminded me of Clayton Keller, but okay. I mean, Clayton Keller's pretty darn good too. I believe he's hurt right now, but
just around who he's got up there in that top 4 tier 1. He's got Verhoff as a player comp of Seth Jones, and Chase Reed, he's a Michigan State commit. He played for Canada, I believe, at the World. Oh no, was he? He's American. He plays for the Sioux Greyhounds. That's what it is. Plays in Canada, but he's from Michigan. Player comp Noah Dobson. So he's got Verhoff 1, Stenberg 2, Reed 3, McKenna 4. Those are the only 4 players he has in his tier 1, though. So
yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, like, those are not like top 3 NHL draft picks. The players he's comping them to. I mean, Dobson's pretty good. He was a mid-first rounder. I don't know. I mean, but who's the other one that we?
Seth Jones.
Seth Jones. I mean,
Jones.
Seth Jones. I mean, he was a top 3, I believe, but he's been solid in the NHL, but he's never quite lived up to that.
From an offensive standpoint, yeah. It was Jones. I want to say, Jones was top 5 at least. Oh, here it is. Yeah, he was 4th overall to Nashville in 2013.
Right. And he was solid for sure. But he still is. But yeah, it's an interesting draft. I mean, it may not just be as top heavy as it's been, but but I mean, they're all solid players, and people can pop out. You never know. But yeah, we'll continue to have this debate.
More importantly for college hockey, really quick, of those projected top 4, the only 4 players in tier 1, 3 of the 4 are going to be college hockey players.
Right.
Because Reed's going to be at Michigan State next year. So
theoretically.
And his 5th player is Tynan Lawrence, who we talked about earlier.
Yeah, who has, really shown not much yet, but it's pretty early. 7 games into his career right now, just the 1 goal. But, looking at it, not a lot of Americans at this point. So,
nope.
Nope. Is that, after so many years of the growing, American quality in the NHL and whatnot, to see that is a bit jarring. Who knows if that's just a temporary blip or has something to do with what we've talked about, with the NTDP maybe being a bit diminished. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see. I'm sure people have all sorts of opinions on that, but I'm not sure anyone really knows at this point what's going to happen. So it could just be could be temporary.
Yeah, you're right. It could just be a 1-year thing. I don't know.
Class, today we're talking men's ice hockey. Open your textbooks. Join thousands of other screaming fans for an in-person experience you have to see to believe. It's the NCAA Men's Frozen 4, April 9th and 11th in Las Vegas. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4.
How many teams are in the Men's Frozen 4?
Please leave.
Well, finishing our whip around, as it were, the CCHA, we should certainly mention. St. Thomas is our team of the week, and they have won 10 in a row. So Western's at 9. Penn State had the great week. Providence has already been a recent team of the week. And, St. Thomas didn't necessarily beat a superior opponent, but they did beat Lake Superior twice on the road this week. And to go to 10 in a row. So the cumulative effect there, as they are a team of the week, and that Friday game, actually, they were down 4-1 and scored the last 6 goals. I actually was checking that score as I was, reclining somewhere and on a beach chair in the evening, Cancun evening. And so 4-1, wow. Next thing I looked up, and St. Thomas was in the lead. So, good job by them to come back and pull it together. They are up to, what is it now, 11 in the MPI. 5-0 was the Saturday one. And the couple interesting things to point out about St. Thomas, because I know a lot of people may not, have them on their radar yet. But Lucas Wallin, who was one of their first recruits, now up to 18 goals this season. He was like a cornerstone guy. And he went from 6 to 12 to 17 goals, now 18 in 24 games. He plays over 20 minutes a night, and maybe be becoming a legit Hobie candidate. And they have mixed that with Alex Gaffney, a transfer from Harvard, and then a bunch of freshmen, too, who are up there scoring-wise. Nathan Pilling, 6'4" forward, now up to 11 goals as a freshman. So they have a very interesting mix. But the other interesting thing about them is that, of course, everyone's goaltending is interesting, it being an important position and all. But Carson Musser, who was the transfer from Colorado College, had played most of the games. And Aaron Trotter, who was part of that original class and has been there 4 years and played a lot as a freshman and, played about half the time the last 2 years, had seen his Musser have the job, but now, and he played here and there still, but all of a sudden, Musser struggled, and again, he was pulled from that Lake Superior game, and his save percentage is under 9, and Trotter came in and allowed just 1 goal the rest of the way as they came back, and his save percentage now is at a career best .924. So I have a feeling you may see Aaron Trotter essentially having won his job back.
Yeah,
and
he played the next night. He's the one that had the shutout. So, yeah, if nothing else, he earned more playing time. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, they have Michigan Tech coming up, and 2 at Bowling Green, Augustana, Bemidji State. So, a lot of pretty good teams in the CCHA. Whether they get more than one in the tournament still is an open question. Augustana did take a loss, so they dipped to 16. Minnesota State trying to bounce back from some recent setbacks is 18, and Bowling Green is 20. So 3 in the top, 3 teams between 12 and 20, but St. Thomas at 11, just barely in 11th, by the way, ahead of Dartmouth and Denver. So St. Thomas is our team of the week, and check out the story on collegehockeynews.com. We'll be back in a second and talk some more.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All right. Welcome back here to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast. As we said, St. Thomas is our team of the week. Check it out. That and all the articles, as Mike was helpful in getting many of our featured content online while I was away. So the website is chock-loaded with news stories. I've got one on Luca DePasquo up there just before we started this podcast. The Minnesota goalie, they've lost a bunch of games in a row, but he did get to go to to Michigan State, his old home, and play 2 games. And he played fairly well, but they lost both to Michigan State. So, Minnesota, it is what it is for them right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you look at DePasquale's numbers too. Like, it's kind of incredible. He's not playing that bad.
No.
He's got a 960. It just shows you how many shots Minnesota gives up. He's got a 916 save percentage. His goals against is over 3. He's made 40 saves or more in 3 out of his last 4 games, and the only one that he didn't in that stretch, he made 39. So he essentially made 40 saves, 40 plus saves 4 games in a row.
Yeah,
he's just getting bombarded with shots. And
we have 2 stories up on Providence, which they deserve at this point, and one on what fun one for me was just reading the one that we have on Vinny Borghese, who is Northeastern's defenseman, who I've wanted to have a story on College Hockey News for a while now, and we finally do. So that's good. So check it out if you can. But second straight year he leads the country in time on ice. Actually, we didn't start keeping time on ice on College Hockey News until last year, so for all I know, he did it as a sophomore, but probably not, I would imagine. But the last 2 years, he leads in average time on ice per game, and over 26 minutes again this year. You pointed out, I saw your tweet, was he over 30 minutes in one game last weekend?
Yeah. He plays like half the game. He doesn't come off the ice. I swear.
And he's 5'8".
Yeah, he doesn't come off the ice. Like, it's every other shift. At one point, I think it was on Friday, I was like, man, I think I saw him take a shift. I could be wrong, but I think I saw him take a shift with all 5 other defensemen that were dressed, or at least 3 of them, because it's like he's going every other shift. So he's not with the same guy all the time. And he had one. He's getting beat up a little bit too, but he just constantly finding ways to make plays. Like, it's unbelievable.
Like you said, does a guy like that have a shot at the next level? I mean, he's 5'8", which is tough, but he is tough, and obviously a workhorse which is the title of our story. So, what's the comparable to him? I mean, at the NHL level, I don't even know.
I mean, at that size, it's hard, right? Everyone goes to Torrey Krug because he was about the same size, but
he was not. He was a more offensive guy.
He was, for sure.
So a stay-at-home workhorse defenseman at that size does not really happen. I mean, you've seen 5'8" guys, but I mean, I'm thinking back to like Freddie Meyer, who played at BU like 20 years ago, was a guy that size, and he was kind of a pain in the neck. But I don't know. So God bless him, though. I mean, no one has figured out a way to tell him no yet, right?
Yeah, literally no one has played more college hockey the last 2 years than Vinny Borghese.
No, and he doesn't miss a game.
No one has played more because he doesn't miss a game and he plays 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, I mean, this is not he's average per game where he's played 14 games. I mean, he's played every game in his 4 years, basically.
He was doing the same thing for the collegiate selects, too. Like, you watch those games, Spengler Cup, he was constantly on the ice.
Speaking of that, I failed to mention earlier, I wanted to mention, Eric Polkamp had 2 more goals for Denver this week. He's now 16 on the season, which is, I believe, by far the leader amongst defensemen. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the goal-scoring leaders in college hockey, he is 8th amongst everybody. And there is no other defenseman in the top 30. The next closest defenseman is Air Force's Chris Hedden with 11. He's tied for 37th. And that's it. We only go up to 50, so I don't know what happens after that.
All right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he just continued. If you look at our Hobie tracker there, the chip rate, I mean, Max Plant continues to put up numbers. He's at 20 goals, 40 points for Duluth, and 11.2 XG, as a matter of fact, as well, which is, I believe, the most in the country. So, Max Plant has a lot going for him on many levels, and Zam is 2, but Polkamp is now 3 on our list, ahead of Cole Hudson, another defenseman. And I do vote. I mean, this is my last year of this 3-year reign. I was going to say we're going to open the mailbag in a second. No one specifically asked this question, which is funny because usually people ask this question every week. so while we're talking about it, I'll ask you. I mean, who is the top 3 for the Hobie right now? Because to me, Polkamp is a definite top 3.
Yes, I don't think there's any question there. 16 goals as a defenseman is just off the charts. I would say Polkamp. I would say Max Plant. He's got 20 goals already, and there's still so many games left. He could finish with 30. Yeah, it's hard for me to ignore a guy that has 30 goals. And then that third guy's hard.
Yeah, I might be Augustine for me.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I might go Augustine there, even though I know many others won't. I might go Augustine there.
Our Hobie tracker itself, I mean, it has, again, Zamplant 2. Even though this is what we publish, I am not suggesting anyone should take this as gospel. I think it's a cool tool. We're still refining the statistical basis behind it, so it gives a bit of a guide. But I'm not inclined to just say, "Hell, let's take the top 3 right there." But Plant is 1, Polkamp's 3, Hudson is 4, Augustine is 7, Lucas Wallin, who I mentioned in the first segment that he may be emerging as a candidate, is now 9. So that kind of validates that, if you will. Ivan Kovic is 10. He's out basically for the year, so that he'll slip as this goes along, and then. McKenna is now up to a legit 13 on the season. So, he was down around 30, I guess, and now he's back up there. So,
I wonder how many votes like a Hayden Stavrov is going to get to.
I know. Well, I get yelled at all the time. How the hell? What is this? Hayden Stavrov's the 40th on your list, and he's got 20 goals and 21. And I know that. And again, I'm not saying that this is perfect, but the point of why we're doing this is to balance it against strength of schedule, among other things. And that is why. Now, you can argue all day long, is our formula correct? Are we over penalizing him for the strength of schedule? I mean, that is a matter of debate, but that is the reason.
And that's what you look at the Kratz, right? Like, Dartmouth strength. So Stavrov has played the 42nd toughest strength of schedule. Right. Max Plant has played the 7th toughest strength of schedule.
Right. And they have the same amount of goals.
20 goals. Yeah. So that's a big difference.
Exactly.
But at some point too, if the kid finishes with a goal per game,
I know. Well, it will
be
go
my
up.
top 10.
Yeah. There is some effect there in the sense that Dartmouth has played 21 games and Duluth has played 26, but that. We try to adjust for that. This is a cumulative stat, essentially. We try to adjust for the fact that some teams play fewer games, so that may balance itself out more as that gets closer and closer to the end of the year. So we shall see. But speaking of mailbag, let's get to that here before we skedaddle. We did get a message from someone today about the rumor apparently that Oklahoma State is considering adding Division I hockey. Now, when I say that, I started to look into this, and it stems from one Spittin' Chicklets blogger who says he heard. Now, I'm not in position to say he's wrong, but it's going to take a lot more. I mean, no one else I know has heard of this yet, so who knows where that's coming from. I do know they've had this ridiculously good club season, that they're all of a sudden like a player now on the scene, right? But that doesn't usually mean jack squat, to be honest. When it comes to adding Division I, I mean, God bless them, but it doesn't usually mean anything when it comes to adding a program.
No, it usually doesn't. It's usually more about money. I haven't heard anything about this either, but I mean, they're a school it's tough. Like, I was saying to someone recently, I don't know who's more likely to add a program. I think it's actually less likely to be a school like Oklahoma State or a Power 4 school, because they have to spend now so much more money on football and basketball. Yeah. I think it's more likely to be teams like Augustana or Long Island or St. Thomas, like smaller schools that don't have big Division I basketball and football. That almost seems like it's the more likely. If we're going to grow, like what's the rumor right now? It's Maryville, right, in St. Louis. Like a school like that seems like the ones to me that financially are going to be more inclined to do it. But I haven't heard anything about Oklahoma State. It'd be great if they did. I mean, that's a great program to have playing college hockey in Division I. I'm curious, where do they fall? I'm sure the NCHC would be.
Yeah. Well,
although
that's a long way off, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but still, it'd be great. I haven't heard anything. It'd be great. And I wonder, too, just in the long run, I think it's more likely that smaller schools may add programs than larger ones, just because schools are going to be spending so much money on football and basketball. And hockey's not a cheap sport to operate. That's why there's so few programs as it is. Like, some of it is geographic, but some of it is it's not a cheap sport. Like, it's not it's not one of those sports where you can, if you've got a football stadium, you can have a soccer team. You could always share facilities if you needed to. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you can share. Hockey, if you're starting a hockey program, you're really starting from scratch. So it's just not cheap. That's all.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it, as it were. It's like they're not a suspect, but maybe we'll call them a person of interest. You know what I mean?
There you go. Speaking of money, did you see the thing with Rutgers today?
That they're way in the hole, yeah.
They're like $78 million in the red.
I mean, that was a smooth move joining the Big Ten a while back, so that's not working out.
But I mean, like that's what I mean. Like, some of these big athletic departments now are spending so much money on these other sports, on football and basketball, that I don't know that they really. You know how it happens at a school like Arizona State is the same way it happened at Penn State, in the same way it happened in Arizona State. If a bunch of people, or in Penn State's case, one person comes forward and says, "Here's $100 million. I'd like you to start a hockey program."
You know what? Honestly, even Arizona State's was a bit of a miracle, because they only, quote unquote, got $30 million, I believe, from a donor, and then had to piece things together from there.
I think they had some other, like, not $30 million, but they had some other sizable donations that made it happen. But
they eventually got the donation for the arena too.
It wasn't. They didn't have a Terry Pagula going, here's $100 million or $80 million or whatever it was.
But they got it in pieces. I mean, the $30 million was essentially like, okay, proof of concept, but then they still had to do more after that. So, and then they did. I mean, that's more. A great job by them, but. Even the $30 million alone wasn't really would have been sustainable if they hadn't done the other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it takes a buttload. Let's put it that way. I'm always skeptical until it happens. I've heard these things a gazillion times.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we found out because the NHL, I think the NHL is still sponsoring feasibility studies. Like, it wouldn't shock me if maybe they're doing a feasibility study.
Well, by the way, I did inquire about the University of Arizona, because they are opening their new arena there pretty soon, and that's another club program that's prominent, and they get pretty good crowds. So Arizona State, Arizona used to be, like, obviously a huge club team rivalry that now doesn't exist, essentially, because Arizona State is NCAA, but asked their coach, and he said, nope, absolutely nothing. We just got a new arena, and that's all it means. That's nothing else. So, okay, but at least it's there if it ever happens. So, again, that would be fun for Arizona State, obviously. But I wouldn't mind. I'm not one who's all that hyped up on caring that if there's more teams. I mean, I got enough to worry about. But Oklahoma State would be fun. I mean, it would give me an excuse to actually have to go to Oklahoma for the first time ever. I did drive through the Panhandle on my way to Texas last year. It was the first time I think I got out of the car to say I stepped foot in Oklahoma. But it's like 10-mile stretch, and it's called Donald Trump Highway. So, I mean, the fact that it's only 10 miles, I mean, that might sum everything up about the state of the world these days. But so that was it for Oklahoma. So I did have a cousin's daughter who went to Oklahoma State, and it's a Stillwater, right? I've heard it's a great town. So any big college town is fun as far as I'm concerned. So I wouldn't mind having an excuse to go there.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Texas too. If we can get like Austin.
Oh, that would be tremendous because Austin's top notch.
Let's go
city. So I wouldn't mind that. But at least Texas actually has a lot of hockey history as far as the minor leagues and of course the Dallas Stars now. And Houston's been thought of as a candidate for an NHL expansion team because they are, I believe, the biggest city without a team at the moment. But that was the only time I was ever in Texas either. And I went to Amarillo, which is like nothing. It's like right across, the Colorado. You go down south of Colorado across Oklahoma's little snippet there, and a couple hours in Texas. But I haven't gone down to Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin. I've never been to any of those places. So,
I was in Dallas, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Let's do it. All right. Let's get through the mailbag here. Question from the Frenzied Friar. You don't even have to guess who he's a fan of, but is there a specific reason Hockey East struggled in non-conference compared to previous years? Yeah, they're just not as good at teams this year. I mean, is there any more complicated a reason than that? It's cyclical, right? They're just
it is.
And
I think if you look around too, like most of their league is on the younger side, which probably played a role. You've always had a couple of older teams. Like Providence has trended older in the past. They're incredibly young, as we talked about. I think that played a role. BU's always young. BC just graduated or had all those other guys sign, so they're on the younger side. And their experienced guys, Gasso and Jelvik, were hurt, which didn't help.
Yeah.
So, I think that played a big role. I think if you look up and down the league, it's probably on average all the teams combined, maybe the youngest the league has been in a while.
Yeah, it's just part of the cycle. It just so happens that a bunch of teams fell out in the cycle at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. Other question here from John, last but not least, I guess, unless something pops up on my screen before we stop this here, is what college hockey team has the largest amount of NIL money in the lineup? I was just having this conversation again today for the umpteenth time that unfortunately we don't know anything officially, really.
Yeah, we can guess.
Because they are not required to disclose any of this. They do have to, the public schools have to disclose their budgets, but they don't say specifically who's getting what. You know what I mean? We've talked to enough people amongst ourselves to kind of have an idea of who's, what teams are spending, not necessarily who they're giving it to. Even Freedom of Information Act requests have been denied by judges to learn these things. Someone said to me today, the pro athletes, that's all public. Well, the only reason that stuff's public is because it's collectively bargained to be public, and the players' associations of the various major sports want that public because it jacks up everybody's salary when you know what you're negotiating against. So, maybe one day if we got collective bargaining agreement in college sports, that will happen. But for now, we have no clue, really. We have some clue just from, what we hear. But we have to kind of piece it together ourselves, So to answer this question, if I had to guess, I mean, it's not going to really be that surprising, right? Now, again, this is NIL versus revenue share, so people often conflate those things. Everyone theoretically has a similar amount of rev share money at their disposal, probably $1 million to $2 million, maybe for their hockey program. But then NIL is kind of a separate thing, right? So the answer is going to be Michigan, Michigan State, or Penn State, right?
Yeah, for this year, I'd go Penn State. And I think, and again, you're right, they are two different things. In my experience, when people have asked me this question before, when they say NIL, they mean NIL and revenue share combined. They're just calling it NIL, right? Because that's what we've become accustomed to call it. So my guess, it's going to be a Big Ten school. I would think on a yearly basis, it may always be a Big Ten school. Right. But my guess this year is that it's probably Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, when $700,000 is going to one guy,
and that's not saying
somehow.
That's not saying that other guys that other teams are not paying play. I mean, I've had coaches complain to me that they've lost players off their team that were on their first line to go play bottom 6 minutes on another team and get paid, $65,000 to do it. So, if 50 or 60,000 is the going rate for a bottom 6 player on a team like that, you can think about, well, okay, there's 12 guys in the lineup, and the top 6 guys are probably making more than that at 50 or 60 grand. So yeah, I think it's usual suspects. It's who you would expect it would be.
Yeah. Well, some of this is obviously common sense, right? So, but we have no way of knowing specifically, but I'm almost assuredly one of those 3. All right. Well, and Charlie Serrato, by the way, that news came down today that he's out for the regular season. I mean, we kind of figured it wasn't looking good, but that was official, so to speak, from Guy Godowski today. So. Tough one for Penn State, but they've been doing great. Right now they're hanging in there, up to 4 in the MPI. So, kudos to them. I guess not a big surprise that Godowski has, figured things out and gotten the most of players as the year has gone on. I mean, that's certainly been his reputation. So, another great job there.
And they've survived injuries before. I mean, they were without Aiden Fink for a chunk of the first half. And made it work. So
yeah, biggest ones coming up. Obviously we'll get to see those 2 of those teams, Michigan State at Penn State, this weekend. So that's a barn burner and a half right there. As we'll get to see what's going on there. Elsewhere, BCBU play, a bit of a prelude to the Beanpot. I don't think they're first round opponents, so we would have to play in the final of the Beanpot.
They would have to play in the final, but then they have a home and home in a couple of weeks. So there's potential. They haven't played each other all year. They could play each other 4 times in the next 3 weeks.
Should make for some feisty hockey, as they say.
And BU, I mean, both teams need those games. BU really needs those games.
Yeah, and Duluth at Denver is big, and Duluth has slipped a little bit to 6. Denver's 13. So again, that's big for both teams. More so for Denver probably, and we'll see if I can make it out to one of those games this weekend. And as far as the CCHA is concerned, St. Thomas will try to keep it going at home against Michigan Tech.
Yeah, 1 versus 2 out there.
Yeah. Oh, you mean in this standings?
In their league standings, yeah. I mean, Michigan Tech's only 5 points back of St. Thomas in the league standings.
Yeah, because they had lost a couple games, but they were non-league games around the holidays. But since then, as far as the league is concerned, they won 5 in a row, including sweeping Bemidji, sweeping Minnesota State. So that's pretty good. But then they lost to Northern Michigan on Saturday, 3-2, which was a little bit inexplicable, given what's been happening. It was the home and home on the 2 UP teams. They beat an 8-2 on the road on Friday, but then lost 3-2 at home on Saturday. So that was a bit weird.
Yeah, I think it was one of those nights. You look at, like, I was looking at this. They outshot them 44. I mean, they give 37 shots, but they had 44 of their own on goal. So just one of those nights where you don't play poorly necessarily, just don't win the game.
Yeah, Oliver Young Ashton, who we mentioned earlier in the year, freshman goalie, was doing pretty good. Got hurt, but he has come back in the last few weeks, and I believe he was actually pulled from Friday's game, but bounced back and got the win in Saturday's game. And his save percentage is .930, even though he's 1-11. So, rough for Northern Michigan, but they at least hopefully if they can hold on to them. I mean, I was going to say a little brightness on the horizon, but now you got to worry about whether they can keep them. So
yeah, that's always an issue, especially now.
All right, well, that wraps things up for this week. We will check in next week when we come back and have a full show again as they shake out the cobwebs from Mexico. So until then, see ya.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.